Hi, everybody, and welcome to Girls Night Live. Tonight, we have a special event called Latinas Rise Together in support of Latina Equal Pay Day, which is December 8th this year. Girls Night Live is proud to sponsor this panel discussion with Chemistry Cultura to address the issues of equal pay amongst Latinas in the US. Latinas have long been a powerhouse in different areas of education, the workplace, and even in politics. We have rised so much from where we've been in the past. But today, after more than 50 years of the 1963 Equal Pay Act, we are still the lowest demographics women being paid in corporate America. So low that it takes us 2 years of work to make what our male counterparts make in 1 year. I find that astonishing. And tonight, I'm going to speak with 3 women who are top executives in their field, in their companies, and kind of just dissect and see how they did it. I have Elida Moran. She is Director of Legal Affairs, and she works for T-Mobile. I also have Carla Lopez, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of Albizu University. And then I'll be talking with Bailyn Pamukov, which is the brand director for Tecate Heineken. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us tonight. This is a discussion that I'm excited to get into, and I am just thankful that you guys are here with us. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So 3 powerful Latina women. You guys are probably at the top of your game in the industry that you're in. So I just want to have a discussion with you ladies and see how you did it. You know, Latinas, as we said, the statistics are alarming, but we do work. We work really hard. So I'll start with you, Elida. You're a director of legal affairs, right? And
Right.
you work for T-Mobile. I mean, anybody who has a cell phone, it's either one of 3. So you have a very big brand company that you work with. How long have you been in your position there?
I've been a director since early or late 2019, 2020. But I've worked for the company since 1999. So I'm going to be celebrating my 23rd year this December. I've had a lot of opportunity, and I've managed a lot of different jobs to get into the position where I am today.
If I can ask, Alita, where did you start when you started there in 1993, you said?
99.
Okay. Where did you, what position, if I may ask, did you start at?
Sure. I was a paralegal supporting our cell towers, leasing, working for an attorney who at the time I had just completed law school, but didn't really know what lawyers did and wasn't interested in a law firm, but connected with this attorney, female, who agreed to mentor me. And through her, quickly joined commercial leasing and then made the jump to sales and distribution. And I've been supporting our sales channels ever since.
When you started there, did you see women of your nationality in positions that you're in now?
No. We were a very small company. At the time, it was VoiceStream. We were a regional carrier, less than 1 million customers. And now I think we have, like over 130 million customers, and we're a nationwide carrier. So it was a very small legal department, maybe just under 10 lawyers at the time.
Well, interesting. Okay, thank you. And Carla, welcome. I'm happy to sit with you and have a discussion. So you're the Chief Marketing Officer at Albizu University, which actually, I believe I read, it's the first professional school of psychology, correct?
That is correct.
How long have you been in your position there?
3 years.
Okay. And your position as Chief Marketing Officer, you're in charge of all of the marketing for the university. Does it stop with that? Does it go further than that?
I handle everything that has to do with marketing and communications with all the units that are under the brand of Albizu University. There's 2 units in Puerto Rico and a unit in Miami. So yes, it has to do with everything that names the brand inside or outside the campus and the outside the city, outside the world. It has to start over here in this office.
And you're in charge of that division.
Yes, I'm in charge of everything that has to do with the brand, with the marketing, with advertising, with the messaging, everything.
I love that. You go, girl. And Belen, hi, nice to have you. I'm so excited to sit and talk with you. You actually are the brand director for Tecate. Everybody loves Tecate. It goes with the michelada. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
How long have you been in your position there?
As a Tecate brand director, 5 years, but
Mhm.
with Heineken USA, it's going to be 15 years.
15
And I
years.
have been director for the different brands, Dos Equis, brand Heineken. So I have gone through our entire portfolio.
So
Yeah.
did you always, like, how did your career start? Because to being the director, right, for these huge name brands, where did your career start? How did you even get into that field?
Well, I am originally from Venezuela. I have been here for 27 years, and I came to the US to do my master's degree. So I went to BU in Boston,
Mhm.
and I wanted to go to New York. You know, it was in my head. I have a very clear goal. I want to work in advertising at a time. You know, so I graduated, moved to New York, and I found a job with Saatchi & Saatchi in the media department. Quickly, I realized that the hours were crazy. That was the time where we arrived to the agency at 8 o'clock and we didn't leave until midnight.
Wow.
And was, you know, a good time spent in the agency working, but I was very passionate about what I was doing. And then I moved to another media agency until I got in the client side, working for Moët Hennessy.
Mm.
So, and there I started my career within the client side. So I went from agency to client.
Okay.
But I always was very, you know, have a clear goal of where I wanted to go next. I'm very, you know, goal oriented. And since I left Venezuela and I went to do my master, and then, you know, in my head, I want to be in New York. I want to, you know,
So you had
clear objective and do everything possible to get where I wanted to get.
I love that. And we're going to talk more about that. And I want to dissect this topic that we're speaking about today, which is the fact that Latinas are not being paid equally to our male counterparts. And the statistic of having to work 2 years just to earn what a male makes in 1 year. Do you guys believe that to be true in your positions, being that where you are, and you are directors and you are the head and you are chief marketing officers? Do you feel that that statement is true? Are you seeing that? I'll start with you, Alita.
I know the statistic. I also know that T-Mobile has been committed to making sure that they are doing regular salary caps, competitive pay within the marketplace, particularly within the legal department, and having managed attorneys that are male underneath me. I feel like they've done a really great job of making sure that, at least for my position in my role, that I am within the same range. So
Mhm.
it's not, so for me, I don't feel like that's the case. I can't say that, you know, the same thing for every company. And I do know that that statistic is out there, but I know that the company has really taken the time and has on its own recalibrated every few years, and there are adjustments. So I feel like I have faith and confidence in T-Mobile from that perspective.
Now,
at my level.
And you always can say you're also an attorney, so you know what your worth is. You know what you should be paid as your role. For
Correct.
Somebody coming up into the corporate world that maybe doesn't understand or is excited just to get in the job that they're being offered, and they don't realize that maybe they're being offered less. how do you think as a Latina woman, should you educate yourself to making sure that you're getting paid what you're worth? And I'm going to take this question to Carla, because Carla, you're at a university and you deal with a lot of Latina women who are there to get an education to better themselves. So let's say a young girl is getting a job and she's at a corporate company and they want to pay her a certain amount. What should she do to make sure that she's getting her worth in pay as the level that she's at?
Well, definitely, we have to start by the experience also has to come about. If I'm looking at somebody, a girl that has the experience, has the background education, I think you start with knowing your value, because the world is not going to give you a higher price than what you give yourself. So there is a lot of work to be done as far as women in the work field. It's a fact that women are paid less in almost every position. And I believe that that's why the women, to me, I believe that there's hope in education. By increasing your education, you will leverage being more competitive and having higher paying jobs, because you position yourself and you empower yourself as you become more educated to move up in the upward mobility and challenge the salary gap. You do have to challenge the salary gap in corporate America. I remember early on in my life, and I probably am going to jump a little bit, but yes, first I knew that the paying, I'm not going to stay here. I said, this is just the beginning. And I knew from that get-go that I decided this is not going to be, this is short-term to me. And I had a goal. So I believe that that for the most part, if you don't fight for yourself, you're definitely letting yourself down, and not only yourself, but the whole bunch of women behind you, because we need more women to fight for what they are valued, what they're worth.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of that, at the second time, goals, right? You have a goal, you have a plan, you want to get to it. Now, I'm going to ask you, Belen, being in your company, is it more male or women dominated, being that it is, alcohol and the type of industry that it is? What do you see more of?
We are very equal, women and men. In the marketing department, there are more women. Although the chief marketing officer is a man, but our CEO is a woman.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's a woman.
Now,
and yeah.
No, I was going to say, for you moved here when you were 25. You were born in Valencia, correct?
Yeah.
So did you feel that coming into this corporate world, and I know even from hearing you speak earlier, your goal, what you had a dream, but did you feel limited in any way coming as an immigrant over into this corporate America?
Maybe I encounter many things about the US and the Hispanic world when I arrived here, because I grew up in Venezuela. Even the word Hispanic, I was, what is that word? I'm Venezuelan. What I mean Hispanic? So that tells you how I wasn't used to this terminology and all the perceptions that people have because I am Hispanic, or I am Black, we didn't have that where I grew up. So for me, I encountered, for example, when I went to an interview for a job and I said my name, Belen Pamukov, and they, at that time, I have an accent right now. When I was 25, my accent was even, more stronger.
Yeah.
And the person looked at me like, where are you coming from? Your name is Spanish, that last name, you don't look Hispanic. What is that? And I was in shock by the question. And I say, well, how a Hispanic used to look for you, how I should be looking for you to, no, don't be that curious. So I encounter all these perception when I arrived here. I didn't have that. So having said that, I didn't have that in my head. I didn't have in my head that because I was a Hispanic woman, I was going to be treated different.
You didn't
I
have.
didn't have it. So I asked for what I did my homework.
Mhm.
I how much is, right now in the market for an entry-level position. And that is what I went for, and negotiate that. In my career, in me personally, I haven't experienced it, but I have asked, I have negotiated.
Mhm.
As a woman, not only Hispanic, one thing that we all have is that when we apply for promotion, we have to feel that we mark all the requirements. Otherwise, we don't raise our hand. While men, they just apply no matter what. If they have 2 requirements, they go and apply. We don't do that.
Right.
But
And
that is our responsibility.
right.
No,
And that makes a good point though. I mean, but it makes a point on the way that you said you didn't have that, because
No.
I mean, you women are successful. I don't know. Alita, did you ever feel any doubt in your mind that you can get to where you are right now?
No, but I think that also came from my dad. We were American, and I'm spending all my money to give you an education, and you're going to go far. And I don't see myself. And like Belen, people don't know what I am. And when I was little, I'd say, I'm American. Like, I don't understand this question that you're asking me.
Right.
So yeah, I've always had a lot of self-confidence that I could work hard and I will get goals and items accomplished.
And what about for you, Carla? Did you ever have any doubt? I mean, your upbringing, I don't know what that's like, but did you ever have doubt as a Hispanic woman or as a Hispanic at all that you would not be able to get to where you are today?
Definitely, my background is from Honduras. I definitely, when I came to the United States, I didn't view myself, I am an American. I said, I am Honduran, I am Latina 100%. And even though I did become a US citizen, I've always seen myself as a Latina, but I never saw the ethnic or gender as an issue to become successful because, as my colleagues say, because of the upbringing. And I did have a father also figure that I only had brothers, but he never said, okay, the women can only do that. It's like, you all are successful, you are gonna do this. And coming from a father that didn't wear shoes when he was a child in the streets and sold candy and became like an assessor to the government and minister, there was no excuse for me to become what I needed to become. And gender and ethnicity was never an issue in my head, in the mindset. And obviously, I realize it.
Yeah, well, you believed it.
Well, I know what I'm saying. I believed in what I could accomplish, but when I came to the United States, so nothing was going to stop me in my mindset. But I was aware of other women speaking different, and I was aware of that. And I was, I've always tried to be a mentor to other people, so that I believe that there are things that they could do to start a shift. So that's why I started even more so fighting, not only for me, but for everybody.
And I'm glad you touched on that, because that's kind of where I was going here. You guys had the examples from your fathers, from your work ethic, and just from the belief in where you came from that you can do anything. There was no difference. Being here, and I'm speaking, I'm a first generation American. I didn't see that in my household. So I didn't know, there's no mentors, there's no belief. You don't even know where to go. So what do you tell the girl who doesn't have that, who doesn't know where to look to get the inspiration to think, oh, if she can do that, I can do it? Where does that girl start? And I'm going to start with you, Belen, because you did come here at 25, which was a lot older, right? So it's like starting in this fresh new place that could be scary. What do you tell that girl who has had the doubt and doesn't think that she can be what she wants to be, or doesn't even know that she has that dream in her? What would you say to her?
I think that she has to learn on belief on herself, first of all. That all those thoughts that you have in your head, the statistics are saying this, This is difficult for women. We are getting judged. All this information can become your reality if you believe on that.
Mm. Yeah.
So we need to do as much as there still is a reality. There are companies in the US and in every industry where men get better pay, and there is all this happening. That doesn't mean that is going, if you believe in yourself, you can go and ask and go far and go where you want to go. Things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
Things are changing now. Things are improving, but you need to believe on yourself. You need to prepare. You need to have confidence and go there and be clear on what you want, what you really want, not what your parents want that you do,
Mm-hmm.
or the people is expecting that you do. Know yourself and believe in yourself is what I can say. When you believe in yourself, then research, then be curious, then what I need to do to get there.
That's the research part. You guys, I'm assuming, all went to college, graduated, and then got your positions. Elita, for you, I'm going to ask this question. Let's say the girl or the guy can't afford college. They don't have that luxury of being able to get that education. What can that person do? And they believe in themselves. They've got to the point where they're reading the books and they're confident that they can do it. What's that next step? Because they don't have the education, but they know that they can get to a position because they're smart. They know how to pick up a book and read and learn. What can they do to get to where they want to go?
It's a great question. It's a great question. My dad was 15 credits shy of getting his college degree because I was a surprise and came along, right? So he had to work. And when I grew up, I would see him in a little office upstairs in our house, and he would be reading his chemistry books. He was reading his German books, like he was continuing his education. He was listening to the news. I think one of my favorite was a game to me, but he would take the little chemistry, inorganic chemistry, you're building atoms with these little, what I thought were Tinker Toys, and we would build and construct atoms together. So I think that, we're in a day and age where a lot of companies, you can get your foot in the door still. You don't need to have a college education to have a professional corporate career. And once you get your foot in the door, and T-Mobile does this as well, and I've known a lot of people go through the programs, they will pay for your education. So there is a way to, you don't have to be, a college degree should not be a limitation to you if you believe in yourself. And I would also second, lean in on your community members. I mean, one of the things that I do is as part of the Latino Bar Association of Washington is we work with our different community nonprofits that are focused on the community for those, for families, for students, for community members that need not just legal assistance, but translation assistance, medical assistance, whatever it is that they need, they're looking to provide. And there will be people in there that will help you get your foot in the door for an internship or an open position, and can be a reference for you. I'm referencing my next door neighbor now for a position that she wants to apply for, right? So it's also not being afraid to ask and lean into your community, those members that want to see you succeed, because we want to see you succeed.
I love that you said that. Don't be afraid to ask. I think a lot of times we're so fearful of what people are going to think by asking for the help. Are we, opportunists? Do we have our hand out? Are we not capable enough? So I'm going to take this to you, Carla, because again, you do deal with a lot of students that are trying to get the education to get into this. But let's say somebody, as I mentioned before, can't afford the college route, but they want you to mentor them. What are you teaching them? What are some of the goals that you're going to set for them to be able to change their life?
And I'm glad that you said mentor. I do want to piggyback and say that not everything, yes, for a lot of Hispanic women, I do invite them or encourage them to finish an education, but that is not the only way to succeed. That is one way. That's, but there's the other way of you becoming a master in what you do and a skill that you manage and be the best that you could ever be. So there's thousands of people that are very successful at skills of communication, of doing things with their hands, of being designers. So there's another way. So what would I tell somebody that, and I think that mentoring, that's number one thing that I would tell any individual that didn't go to school or whatnot, or even if you went to school, when you're young, you need a mentor. You need to visualize who or how you want to be when you grow up. And you can meet many people all the time and you say, okay, I like what she does. I like how she's going. And I'm gonna, you have to be audacious. I don't know how to say that, but you have to go and stick to that person and go and get the experience you need by being around them. Tell them you'll invite them for coffee or whatever. I just need 5 minutes of your time. You want to absorb as much as you can of that person that already did what you want to do. So that is one of the things that I would tell a person that, anybody that wants to start in their career and they're young. Number two, yes, I would say that number two would be a very important one, and growth doesn't come just automatically. It's with intentionality. And this goes with everybody, going or not going to college. If you don't have a plan, it's like the sailboat. It will go wherever, and you will become the dreams of other people, and you won't accomplish your own. You have to have a plan, a direction, and I know my colleagues have mentioned it, but if you have a direction, you want this, you measure, okay, how long is it taking me to get that? Is this position not letting me grow? Okay, I'm gonna change. And I'm not saying you quit all of that, but you have to be gauging if you're going the direction that you want to go. Otherwise, if you don't measure, you don't grow. People say, okay, Carla, yes, I measure everything in marketing. But most importantly, I think we should be measuring our lives, our careers, and what we do, our relationships, measure everything. And if you don't take control over your most important item or accomplishment, which is your life, then others will. So that's a second one.
Okay, you touched on so much, and I have so many questions from that. So I'm going to ask this real quick because you said your life. So for anybody that's listening right now, Carla, do you believe you are who you hang with? Do you believe the people you surround yourself determines or help or, has some sort of influence on who you are as a person and what your life becomes?
Absolutely. And that quote that says, you become like your 5 best friends or the people that you hang with the most. That is so true. Your inner circle have to inspire you, have to be the people you want to be, because you will become like them sooner or later.
I agree. Now, Belen, I have a question for you, and this is something Carla mentioned as well. She said, ask that person out for coffee. Talk to the person who's doing what you want to do, who's above you. You guys are executives. Let's be honest. I've been in sales before. It's not hard to get to it's super hard to get to an executive. You have gatekeepers on every level. So Belen, somebody wants to talk with you. Somebody wants to learn from you. How does a person get and this is on all of your levels, how does a person get your attention to be able to even get in a room to be mentored by somebody like you?
Well, relationships are very, very important. And for me, they can send me an email. I mentor girls that are in my company in the coffee machine. They start asking for conversation. They start a conversation. I usually ask questions to them. And what you want to see the person to be curious, to be motivated. And when you see that in somebody, you want to help them. Is nothing more rewarding than helping, and for me, helping another girl, another woman because I think men do this very well. I see that they talk to each other, they support each other. Women, we need to do that more.
Yeah.
And support women, not only the women that are similar to you, also another girls that they are very different than you. You know?
Yeah.
And I just if I see the motivation in this girl and the curiosity and the passion, for me, it's a pleasure to work with them.
I love it. Now I'm going to piggyback off of that, because there is something where being able to even express yourself as a woman and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I'm complimenting you and I think it's great. A lot of times women are not empowering of other women. We like to tear each other down. Oh, she's prettier than me. Oh, she's this, or she's at that level. So they don't feel always so open to ask. And I guess, in other words, be coachable or being able to be in a space to be mentored. So Elita, I'm going to ask you on this one. How would you give advice to somebody who has this mentality of not being able to go to another girl, or thinking she's too good to even help somebody that's maybe not on her level, coming behind her and wanting to be at her level, to not be in a space of jealousy or keeping her down? What advice would you give to that girl to say, be better, be helpful?
To someone who's not being helpful?
Who's not, because we get a lot of times where you girls just don't want to help.
They pull up the ladder.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
They're pushing them down. But
I know it's horrible. I kind of I feel really old on this call, but I feel like when I started my career, I've seen those women. I've seen those women who are the only ones who don't have kids, who aren't juggling. I'll tell you, when I first got my job, I had a baby and we bought a house while I was during, home on maternity leave, and like a paycheck and a half went to the mortgage. Like, we moved in the house. I'm like, I don't know how we're ever going to eat. Like, I seriously don't know how we're going to eat. So, so I've been in that financial position. And so going to work and seeing executives that were like, you need to be at your desk and you can't leave early and you need to be on call. And here I'm going home and I have this baby who I love, who's now a sophomore in college. That's really challenging. So I think what I've had to do, and I've been fortunate. I have a lot of people that do lift as they rise, but I let people know, it comes with empathy, right? You have, and I don't think we always recognize this as Latinas, as women, we have power. Like, even before I was an executive, I had power because I had a good job. I had connections. So how could I help other people rise? And it's a matter of leaning into my love of community. And if I really love someone, or if I really respect them, I guess, the people I work with, I really do enjoy working with them. But if I really respect someone and they're not leaning in, but they have a skill set that could benefit somebody else, I make the connection. I reach out and I say, hey, this person, they are interested in this. I think the world of them, but you have that experience, whether it's corporate strategy or mergers and acquisitions or intellectual property. Can I introduce them to you? And so I lean in on our relationship, and people have said, yes, I would love to meet your person, introduce us. So I think it's part of just, how do you build on the commonality you have with someone else and help them do what you would like them to do, and they're not feeling like it's an obligation. Or that would be my approach.
Right. Or an obligation, or feeling like if they help the person, they're going to take over their position. Right.
Right. And and for me, I tell law students that I meet with, hey, call me. I will give anybody 30 minutes for coffee, because I just think it's that important.
Yeah.
And they don't take advantage of it. So everybody listening, as folks say, chase them down, have a cup of coffee. People are willing to give you 30 minutes to talk about how they got to where they are.
That's really important, is just that, is having the tenacity to reach out. Because I think a lot of times that's what stops most people, is the fear of rejection. Will they even give me the time to ask the question? So I love that you said that. Carla, I'm going to ask you, if, you know, we spoke on that, when a woman is helping another girl out, and let's say she does take over the position and surpasses her as a mentor, how do you think that person, like, what does that look like for you? How do you let a girl understand that that's not a bad thing when she surpasses you and she does better? How does that become a positive thing to where more women will want to continue extending the hand and lifting somebody else up?
I think that everybody has their own calling, and everybody should reach their potential. Whatever the title is, whatever the ranking is, it really doesn't matter. You have yourself a goal, and it's to be the best version of yourself in whatever company, whatever position. Somebody else has their own calling, their gifts, things. Nobody's competing against anybody, because I can't do what she can, and she can't be Carla. So to me, it really means that if a person is growing to that next level, and that's her, she's being the best that she can be, that's where she should be. I mean, honestly, we can't, I think that it would be a waste of life that you get to the end and never achieve all the levels you needed to achieve. And I hope that there's more CMOs, and I hope that people surpass me, and I hope my assistants, my coordinators, my specialists get to own the world. I really do. And I just think that you should have a mentality of abundance, not insecurity and lack, that you think, oh no, only me, my position. No, you'll be called to a different position. Who knows? You'll be called to a different entrepreneur. Who knows what your next mission is in life? But your mission has nothing to do with their mission. You're just there to support. You're there because we're all in this together. We're all advocates. We all need to stand in the gap. If we don't do it with each other, nobody will. And that's why we're still behind, and where women are still 12% still of them are administrative assistants, other 14% are in the service, and there's only one CEO woman in the Fortune 500 companies, and there's only 3% chief marketing officers out of 40% women. No, so there is room for us to grow. So I'll be very happy if they surpass me.
It's funny you said that, because I actually read that there's now 2 CEO Latina women CEOs in Fortune 500 companies. 2, you guys.
2.
That's insane. So, I mean, coming from that space of believing, because again, we come back to, and I'm hearing the same theme of believing in yourself, knowing that you can do this, knowing that you have the goal. Now, Baylin, you coming here at 25, what did your support system look like? Because let's say somebody believes in themselves, but they don't have the support to get them to the next level. How do you handle that when you're on your own and you're trying to build? What keeps you motivated and keep going?
Well, you need, again, I say you need to be very clear on what you want. I came here, moved to New York. I got married, but my family wasn't in New York. My family at that time was back in Venezuela. I was the only one here. When I have my son, I didn't have my mother taking care of the kid all day. I didn't have an aunt. I didn't have a support system. Back at home, you could work and the kids is with the abuela, you have a whole support. Here I needed to rely on nannies. And I wanted to go back to work, and we have only, which is crazy in this country, that is another topic, but it's not possible that we have, the maternity leave is really an issue, a bigger issue that I hope that my son is already 17 and I am not having more kids, but I really are passionate about this point. And I was very clear that I wanted to be a mother for my kid, be there, but I also wanted to fulfill my career. It wasn't, so it's trade-off. It's not going to be a balance the whole time. Sometimes the balance will go into one side, into the professional side. And then you have to realize and come back and be more with the kid. So my constant, in my career, especially now my son is in university, but during the time that he was a little boy, it was trading off the whole time because corporate America doesn't give a space to, to be that. And I didn't want to be a home mom because I have ambitions, but I wanted to be a good mother too. Yeah. So it was a lot of work on myself because, again, I didn't have a support system. But now I can say, having a kid in the university, a very good relationship with my son, I am happy with my career. And I think that I did it, both things at the same time. But it was because I believe in myself. I was clear. I wasn't in autopilot. I see many women that are running like, or you need to be very aware of the decisions that you are taking. Every move in the corporate world, I took decisions that it was because I want to be with my son more time. And I decided to take one position and not another. And I always left the office once my son was born at 6 o'clock. And I say to my team, once I put my kid to bed, I will come back in the computer. But I'm going home because I want to lead by example. I'm not going to be the mother that stay here until 10 o'clock. Because I want to put my kid in bed. I want that. So when you don't have a support system, you still can achieve it.
Yeah.
But you need to be clear on what you want. And maybe to be the senior vice president is not what you want while you are raising your kid. Or maybe, yes, it's what you want and you negotiate with your company. But what I want to the girls that listen to this is there is a lot of control in your hands about how you want to live your life. Don't give that control to the company. Talk, negotiate, and be very clear on what you want.
So that's a good topic to negotiate. We have a question from Ciara, and she wants to know if, and I'm going to ask this question to you, Alita, and it's going to be like a two-part question, but have you ever been underpaid? And I know that your specific company, you said they're very fair. So just any time before, even T-Mobile, was there ever a time that you were underpaid? And if so, how did you correct that? Did you negotiate? And then it goes into my second question of negotiating. Sometimes it's very fearful to stand in front of somebody and demand and negotiate what you want without being fearful of you not getting the position or them letting you go. So how do you navigate that?
So for the first question, I worked at a bank between college and law school, and I didn't negotiate. I think I was in that, and I would tell my younger self, negotiate. I'm so grateful to have a job, right? I'm fresh out of college. I was going to save money for law school. That didn't happen. And so it wasn't even on my radar to address that. And I think, one of the well, and then even taking different positions at T-Mobile, every time I was promoted to a different position, it was like, here's your salary, right? Here's your new pay. I never thought to say, okay, I'm taking on this position. I should be asking for something else. Let me go do my own market research to Belinda's point. And so I was, and maybe that's on myself, maybe there was too much trust in that. I still think that today I have a fair pay, but I do advocate for and have hired women who always say, here's here's what I'm making today. I'm coming over to your company. Here's what I'm asking. And it's based on facts. And when you have the facts behind you, it's not really it shouldn't be scary. It's again, it goes to knowing your worth and knowing your value based on the experience and what you are bringing to this position, to this company.
Which makes sense. And I think that you guys are all kind of preaching the same message here. Know what you want, do your own research. And this is for you ladies and gentlemen on the live right now. If you're in a position to get a job or wanting to get a job, you need to be able to know what you want, have done the research on the specific position to be able to negotiate the pay that you want, to ask for what you want, and then not be scared to go in there and get it. I mean, that's your guys' message from what I'm hearing and believing, because again, even for not having the support system, I mean, I've been a single mom, Baylin. I don't know how you did that, but it's tough. So to be able to, I guess, again, I didn't have the mission or the goal. There was nothing I was working towards at that time, whereas you were laser focused on it and it made a difference. And I think that's something that you can see the difference in when you're trying to navigate life in your career. I'm going to ask you each a question as far as if you can, and I'll start with you, Carla, if you can tell your younger self, if you can give your younger self advice, what would be 2 things that you would tell your younger self when coming up into your high school education, into the career? And I know that's such a broad question, but I'm referring to you being the successful woman that you are. What would you tell your younger self? Because did you know as a young girl you were always going to be this successful, or did you navigate that later in life? But what would be advice for somebody coming up as well? What would be 2 main pieces that you would give somebody to get to where you are today?
I will be fast, but I have to add 3.
Okay.
Have a bigger,
no, great. Good. Yeah.
Have a bigger vision for yourself and for those who follow you. You're not doing only, women tend to be, I don't want to be, I do this, it's too selfish. And I don't know what we're always thinking about maternal and nutrient. And we think that being successful is something bad. But if you see it that way, see it that you're doing it for other women, because other women need you to exceed. So visualize what you want to be, aim high. The future that you live depends on the standards you will have today. Number 2, I would say wake up every day with a purpose. More than wanting a successful career, I believe that you need to wake up with passion, with meaning of something. Work needs to be significant in order for you to exceed. And number 3, go for it. Lánzate, even if you feel afraid and insecure, because that could always happen. You will may always have that fear, but you need to align your mindset and your actions to seize opportunities. And sometimes you have to make the opportunities. Don't be quiet. Share your viewpoint in that meeting. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say something and go for that challenging job. You don't have to have all the qualifications. You can learn the rest on the way.
Very good. Thank you. That was amazing. That's good advice. What about you, Alita? What would you tell your younger self as far as advice to get where you are today? And this is for the girl or guy who doesn't have the upbringing and the father figure and the hard worker that you had. What advice would you give that younger person?
So it's really, I guess, just reinforcing what Belin has been saying. For my younger self, I would have been very clear about my direction, giving myself, I want 2 years in this position, and looking at it as my first year in the position, I'm learning the job, and the second year, I'm knocking it out of the ballpark, and I need that next opportunity. I think I've been in a number of different positions where it's been 4 or 5 years, and while I love the work and love my job, I'm not intentional about where do I see myself? What is my North Star? So I would tell anybody starting out, pick a North Star, because then the projects and the work that you are doing are going to develop the skill set to get to that next role, right? And anybody out here can be the CEO of the company. And that North Star might change over time, right? My North Star is a little different when I had kids, but then as they've been growing, it's shifted again, because I always like to be challenged, and that drive is what's going to make, bring me to my next career, whether at T-Mobile or outside of T-Mobile. And then my second piece, being a lawyer, is I would have stayed connected with the Latino Bar Association of Washington, with the Hispanic Bar Association after graduation. So involved as a student. And then I sort of was trying to figure out my job. And I feel like that community of lawyers that were looking out for me as a student, I could have really benefited from the mentorship, the sponsorship, the networking, the sounding board. Am I doing the right thing? Is this right at work? Should I be looking for something else? I really feel like we need to lean into our community more, because the people ahead of me, and I didn't have Hispanic or Latino or Latina mentors ahead of me. In this area, my mentors were the Asian lawyers, the Black lawyers, because our community is so tiny. And I think it's why I'm back engaged with them. So lean into your community, because they will help you, and they will help you. I don't know what else to say. They will help you.
That's great. And what about you, Balin? What advice would you give the younger you to get to where you are today?
The younger me, I will say everything is going to be okay. Don't be patient. You are doing good. When I was younger, I doubt myself on, I had this hunger to have this professional career, but I also want to be a mother. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And always doubting these two roles. So I will say to myself, be patient, and everything, it will be okay. Go with the flow when I was younger. But an advice that I want to give to especially younger Latinas is the truly your freedom is when you don't depend financially on anybody. Especially younger Latina girls. Because when you depend on somebody, you don't have real freedom to do whatever you want. That doesn't mean that you can have a great partner and both contribute to, but there are many decisions that you can take, and when you have independence, and you have independence when you have financial freedom.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, let's talk about that for a second. Being financially, and again, I know that's a hard topic, because it's like, I mean, we're not getting paid enough. That's the whole problem here, right? Latinas, there's no equal pay. So we don't make enough in a year to be able to even support ourselves half the time. So when you're in a situation where you're dependent on somebody as a woman and you're already feeling down, what can you do to keep going and not give up and not kind of drown into that sorrow or that pity of like, how am I ever going to get out of this? What encouragement, and I'll ask this for you, Carla, because I'm sure, you, again, the girls that you're around, they see you and you're this powerhouse. So for somebody in a situation that is dependent on somebody and wants to get out, and knowing that if they were financially independent on their own, they probably wouldn't even be in that situation. But how do you encourage somebody by not giving up and keep going?
Well, I will start by saying that everything that you are and that is inside of you is all that you need to succeed. It's not in the outside, it's in the inside. And that's where it starts. And many people say, oh no, I don't have the education, the parents, the family. Really doesn't matter how you begin, it matters how you end. It matters how you proceed. So I would say to that little girl, that person that feels defeated, I was a single mom too. And I remember times where, that was tough when my dad and my husband both happened in the same week. My father dies, my husband and I divorce, and here I felt at the lowest part of my life. And I definitely had to, I think, regain my identity. I say it that way because I think identity is the power that enables you and empowers you to accomplish all your goals. And I think that I would tell that person, know who you are, you have what it takes, we have the power to achieve what we were made to be, in this world. We all have a purpose here, and we came with a manual. It wasn't like you need to buy an extra part to do what you need to do. No. Venimos, we are complete. So I would say to that person, take out the dust, wipe out the tears, get up, because you have what it takes. Start self-talking yourself, because that is the most powerful voice you will hear. What you say to yourself, you either identify, do I have a negative or a positive voice? You have to be your biggest fan. Start saying, I can do this. I'm going to go and land that job. And if it doesn't happen, the next one. You have to start with self-talk. And then slowly your identity recovers from all the injuries that you have in life. And you remember who you are, and you keep fighting every day. Get up, dress up, and show up.
I love it. And you know, with that, there's not much more to say. Ladies, this is about getting equal pay. Women, men, whoever's on today, whoever watches this, if you're feeling doubtful, if you're feeling discouraged, if you don't even know where to go, listen to the words, because each one of these women are successful. They have done the work, and they are giving you the information that you literally can take and use, because it does start with the way that you think. Changing the way that you talk to yourself is so important. Stop being negative. You're in a bad situation. Maybe you're in the best situation, whatever it is. Talk positively to yourself. So I just want to thank you guys for spending the evening with us, having this conversation. I will open it up to anybody that has any questions, that maybe want to talk to, the ladies and see is something that I didn't answer. But I want to thank you guys for your time. I want to thank you guys for continuing on helping those that are coming behind you. And we will continue this fight on getting equal pay for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't think we have any questions. So I think we'll end with that. Thank you again, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.